Welcome to Rise by Failing Forward podcast by Wings for Growth. I'm your host, Varsha, and my guest today is Naz Vahid. Naz Vahid is a managing director at Citi and the head of Citi Global Wealth at Work. In this role, Naz and her team provide tailored financial solutions to busy professionals across legal services, professional services, asset management industries, and corporate enterprises. Naz is also the co-head of the Citi Global Wealth Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council. Ladies and gentlemen, given the current affairs in Iran for women who are fighting hard for their rights and freedom, I am eagerly waiting to speak with one such brave woman who fought for her freedom in her own way. She escaped Iran at the back of Iranian Revolution when she was only 15. And today, she has become a role model for many others, including me. Naz is an empathetic leader. She inspires many others by trusting them and creating opportunities for them. She inspires me because she offers her unwavering commitment to Wings for Growth and to many other causes that she believes in. Naz described to me how one no from her boss changed her life and motivated her to follow her passion and always be ready to challenge the status quo. Friends, I invite you to have a relaxing afternoon coffee with me and Naz as you listen to this wonderful podcast. Hi, Naz. How are you?
I'm great. Nice to see you, Varsha.
Thank you so much for making the time for this podcast. I know you're a very busy woman, and I appreciate that.
Happy to.
And Naz, you're not a stranger to Wings for Growth. And I know Wings is not a stranger to you as well. You have been mentors for a few years at the beginning, and then you're also a client. And we admire that every year how you sponsor women from your business to become a mentee in the program. So I really appreciate your commitment to gender diversity and also, of course, your generosity and encouragement for Wings for Growth. So thank you for being such an awesome client. We love that.
It is an amazing, amazing organization, does a great job for women in their way to greatness. So happy to be a part of it.
Thank you. Thank you. And Naz, with your permission, I want to start this podcast by giving our listener a little bit of a background that you shared with me. I know you told me that you came to United States of America when you were just 15, a little girl. You had to give up your loving environment that you were living in with family, friends, and I would say very comfortable living, maybe even luxurious living, to come to this country with so many unknowns and so many challenges to that little girl who was just 15. And I think you shared with me that you also had to earn your living at that young age. Oh my God, it just feels painful just even listening to you. So kudos and hats off for you to be doing everything that you did at that time. But fast forward, 37 years at Citigroup, Naz?
37. Makes me feel old, but yes, 37.
And for some people, that may feel like, oh, wow, how many years in one company? But Citi is a big company, right? Even the small business units is like a small company in itself under Citi umbrella. And on the personal front, Naz, two beautiful daughters, 27 and 26. And you and your husband both of you have given them a beautiful life. They can dream anything that they want to, something that you did not have growing up. And that's what
I would love to think so, Varsha.
All parents want to do that for their children. So I'm going to say there cannot be any better story than that. to kick us off, you're our first guest on this podcast. So, with that, Naz, give us a little peek into your professional journey and talk about, was this planned or this happened very serendipitously?
Sure, Varsha. So 37 years in one company. Yes, it sounds like a long time, but reality is that depending on the way you counted, 9 to 10 different jobs in 37 years. So when you look at it this way, it is pretty average for what people do. They might do 2 or 3 jobs in one company, move to another. I just happen to have been inside of Citi, but as you said, Citi is a big organization. And has it happened? Nothing in my life really has happened because I planned it. I am a planner by nature, but here is the reality. Things also happen to you. And then a part of being a good planner is to be able to sort of see if there's an opportunity, take advantage of it and change course a little bit and follow it. And I would say it started right out when I was in college. And I always say I went to college to study psychology and writing and become a journalist. That was my idea. You know, I was a child of revolution, had made me leave my country. I thought I want to, talk about everything that was going to be covered in the world going forward. I am in a college situation, spring term. I remember I fell asleep late the day that I had to sign up for courses. It's as easy as that. So by the time I get to the sign up, a lot of classes I wanted are already filled up, and I am a freshman. So I'm limited. I go after all the other upper classes. And this is ancient times, yes. So we actually physically showed up. And I happened to, I needed to take an economics course as a part of the requirements. And I went in and I signed up for an economics course. And there was a new professor who was telling us about his course. I said, sounds great. I'm going to sign up. And literally, I sat at the edge of my seat that entire spring semesters, loving the course. The subject, the discipline, knew very quickly that this is where I was going to go. So went from journalism and writing to an economics major, which changed the whole course load of things I had to take. But that is just to give you a sense of change of life at that point. And then I entered Citi with the concept of it being a temp job and wanting to pay for my graduate school because, as you mentioned, revolution had happened. My family had lost quite a bit of wealth, and I had to survive the school by both working in school and also taking loans out. So I had quite a bit of student loans, and I decided I didn't want to take a lot more. So I was going to work for a year or two and save money and go to graduate school. I've gone into Columbia, and so I started applying for temp job. There was one at Citi. I started at Citi and doing the work. And within 7 or 8 months of being a temp, the woman who was running the group said, oh, I'm moving to this other part of Citi. I really like the way you work. Why don't you join me as a permanent employee? And if you do really well, at that point, Citi used to actually help you pay for your graduate school. And I said, all right, why not? So did that, became an employee of Citi. All along, I'm going to get my degree in international economics, and then from there, master's, and then go to IMF or World Bank. That was the goal. And then life happens. You met my husband. He spoke all these languages. I didn't. And it became, if I worked for IMF or World Bank, one of us had to be sort of in place more than the other one to have a real marriage. So the decision was it would make sense for me to be the one that has a job that is in one place. And I was a big supporter of that decision. Now, the joke is on both of us because in the long-term relationship, I'm on planes a lot more and all over the place a lot more. But that was the decision right there. So I'm staying and I'm looking at jobs, and somebody at Citi said, well, if you get credit trained, you actually can become a banker. And I applied for credit training at Citi, which was, if you would, the Harvard of credit trainings at that point. And so what happens is I had to get a business sponsor, and I go to get a business sponsor. in my head of business, and he sort of looks at me and says, you know what? Yeah, you're smart. You're going to Columbia. I think you should take a job doing research, because I'm not sure that, somebody with your name and more of an accent even then is really going to be somebody these clients will identify with. And I have to be honest, it was the first time somebody had said something like that to me. And it was a bit of a, what? But I always say it was one of the best no's I have ever received in my life, because it gave me the courage to say, well, I actually think you're wrong. And I remember walking out of his office and saying to him, I think you're wrong. I am going to tell you that I'm going to go to your boss to ask for this sponsorship. And I think you're so wrong that one day you're going to actually report to me. So fast forward, got the sponsorship, not even that easy, but I got it. And got in, did the credit training, became an analyst, the credit analyst, hated it, but did it, did really well in it. And became said, okay, this is not for me, but I needed to have that background. Became an associate private banker, helping a private banker, did that for a few years. The person left, took half of their relationship, and then I became a private banker and grew a book that was really small to one of the largest books in the department that I was at. Get into my 40s, and I decide, okay, I can't do this for 20 more years. It's kind of fun, but I just don't want to do this for a long time. So start looking around and thinking I might want to go to corporate bank and be a relationship manager on that side. Go talk to my boss, because I wanted to be very open book about it. And he basically said to me, I actually have another idea. Citi is trying to bring in a lot of private bankers. I think that you like mentoring people, you like training people, you've never managed people. What if we took your book, divided it by 3 or 4 people, you hire them and you manage them and see if you like management? And I said, okay, what's the worst case? I'll go for that corporate job a year later. He saw something in me I didn't see in myself, honestly. I hadn't even thought about management. I will say to you, I'm so grateful to him too, because that actually opened a whole door that I have really enjoyed in the last 15, 17 years of my career. And that it started from managing a team of few people, then managing 2 teams, then managing half of New York, then New York and London, then taking the entire business that was called Law Firm Group. And I remember then taking it again and somebody saying to me, this is like going to be easy. You just have to manage this. This is a very grown up, mature business. And I remember thinking, well, I actually don't think so. But okay, thank you very much. I'll take any advice you give me. And here we are, like 11 years after that, when I passed it on to the next person, it was 3 times the size that it was originally given to me. And the last step is that I became where I am today is that the head of the wealth management was changed when Jane Fraser, head of Citi, decided to put all of wealth together. And the new head of Citi Global Wealth came to a group of us that worked for him and said, what are some ideas that you have in terms of the way we should grow wealth? And I came up with the idea of taking what has been the serving industries and people in educated professional services type of industries and managing them through the continuum of wealth from the moment they walk in out of, say, law school or MBA, and be with them all the way to become very profitable managing partners to their retirement. He said, I like the idea, built a business plan. He then took it up, got the approval, and we started Citi Wealth at Work, which I have been now managing for a year and 2 months. I hope that's not too long, but that is the story.
Oh my God. I'm just getting chills. Talk about taking risks, following your passion, going to Columbia and then starting your career at Citi and going in different directions and taking on what came your way and what you believed in. What a great story. So we know that taking risk and being passion and following your passion is very innate to you, Naz, and your business. I think you told me that it's about 200 plus professionals now and 50,000 attorneys and 900 law firms. Is that the huge? Yeah, it's a big, huge job. So my question to you is, what really, I think you mentioned that your boss gave you this idea, but what really inspired you to take on this role? And how did you convince everybody else to come and join you?
So, Varsha, I have been very fortunate. I love what I do. And I have been in a position that I have always felt very focused and excited about the product. Now, sometimes that product is the bank, the platform, sometimes it's me, sometimes it's somebody in my team. But the reality is I have believed in the product. And I always say, if you believe in your product, you can sell it. It's like that car commercial, right? Like it sells itself. So I think that's how I have brought in talent to the business and how I have expanded clients' business. And people who work with me very much believe in that talent and that in that focus and in the product. I was in a cocktail party last night and somebody we had hired from another organization a few years ago, one of their top performers, kind of came up to me at the end of the night, says, I just want to say thank you. And I'm thinking, why is he thanking me? It's in such a hard year market or so tough. And he said, when you were interviewing me, you said to me, it's not just the place I'm selling you or the platform. You're going to love where you work. And you want to get up every morning and come to work. And I have really, really felt that. You didn't make it up. You really meant what you said. And it has been changing. So you say how I have gone it? Because I think, one, I believe in it. Two, I hire people who believe in it. And then I am obsessed literally with client responsiveness as an individual and with my people who work for me. And the client could be internal or the client could be external. But the concept is that we need to be responsive and we all need to think that the client is the North Star. We work for their happiness. And that will ultimately create success in a business. I don't care what business you're in.
And, even though I never worked for you or with you, Naz, I could feel that every time we talk, right? Your commitment to your mentees when you were a mentor here, your belief in the cause and supporting that cause wholeheartedly. Every time I came to ask you for something, you didn't even think for 1 second to give us that support and that encouragement because you believed, as you said in the beginning, in this cause. So, so appreciate that. And, Naz, as I'm listening to your story, sometimes we feel disruptive. Sometimes we feel the decisions that we're making are very bold and they turn out to be great decisions, but not all the times, right? Sometimes some decisions lead us on a wrong path. So when somebody like you in the executive suite, when that happens, how do you deal with that?
I mean, you have to be ready to fail sometimes. If you're not, you're never going to grow. And I know it's a cliche, what they say to you, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But in reality, I really, really do believe in that. And I said to you that the first no in my career was my biggest gift because it allowed me to understand what I need to overcome inside of my quest to become my career or something else. That happens in decision making all the time. So your hope is that you don't make too many bad decisions, right? Mm-hmm. But the reality is that you will have to make decisions because that is what you are empowered to do as the leader, that sometimes are not the right ones. And you have to be able to be nimble enough to recognize when you have made an error and change course. Sometimes that change course is just slightly, but be able to change. It is also having a capacity to get feedback from others and not think that you know it all, that all the decisions reside in your experience and in your brain, because that is just the worst thing you can do. I don't care how senior you become in an organization. Really important that you understand you have a lot to learn in the process as well.
As you're talking about this, that it's not just that everybody makes wrong decisions. We take all actions that don't always end up where we need to go to. But I think as a senior manager, as you are, what you talked about is so important, that bring the team together. And one time I was listening to Ray Dalio's book or a podcast, I believe, and he always talks about pain plus reflection equals progress.
Absolutely.
Right? So you take the reflection out of the pain, there is no progress. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about. So good to hear that again. Naz, I wanted to also share something with you, and that then has, of course, a question that's coming next. One time when I was at Citigroup, somebody pretty senior, who was also my sponsor in my developing talent program that Citi used to offer. After the program was done, I went for some advice to him, and I asked him, what do you think I should do? I have all these ideas. And he said, you should consider career in HR. And Naz, I was young, and I would say very mature at the time, because I thought that was an insult. I thought that, wow, why should I go to HR when I can do technology and I can be in front office and back office? I mean, this investment banking business, what's this HR thing? So he probably doesn't see my potential. And I was insulted. And fast forward, just before I was ready to quit my career at PwC and start Wings for Growth, I actually went to go see him in Purchase. And I said to him, this is what I'm going to do. And I remember so many years ago, you asked me to consider a career in HR, and his response was, my most important person in my executive team is my HR person. And just I'll be very candidly, I'll share the person was Ajay Banga, who was the CEO of MasterCard, right? I can never forget this advice that he has given to me. So my question to you is, did that ever happen to you, that somebody gave you an advice and you didn't believe in it, and then it turned out to be true or a great opportunity for you later on?
Yeah, I mean, here's the reality. I would say the moment that somebody earlier on in my career said, why don't you give up being a individual contributor and become a manager and a team leader? Mm-hmm. Now I said it was the biggest right decision of my life in so many ways, but I had never managed people. I didn't even know why he was seeing that in me. And I frankly was thinking that he was being selfish in a way of wanting to make sure I pass on all my relationships in a good way down the road. So I had nothing to bargain for going to another firm, which I wasn't doing. So yes, I accepted it and ultimately did it. And it was a good outcome, but it wasn't like an immediate yes. It was with some reflection that I decided, okay, what is the worst thing that can happen? And let me tell you a tactical thing that would have happened. I wanted to go to investment bank or corporate bank. That was planned, 2007. Imagine what it would have happened to me at 2008 when I was the last person in. I would have been the first person out, whatever, part of it I went. So it happened that listening to that and, actually believing somebody is seeing something that I might not be seeing in myself really, really helped my career. To this day, I keep in touch with that individual. On holidays, I write to him where things are, because I owe enormous amount of my professional growth and success to his thought process.
Absolutely. And Naz, I think you also shared once with me that somebody told you that you don't know what you don't know. And at that younger you thought that, oh, I know it all. Talk a little bit about that experience.
I absolutely. I will tell you by by far that, when you're a personality type, which I will own and say I am, you also have this blind spot of thinking you know it all, that you know the future, you know exactly what's good for you, you have it all planned out. And here is the reality. Somebody really sat me down and said to me, how do you know? It was a mentor, informal mentor, if you would. How do you know what you don't know about yourself? How have you, it's a concept of you don't have eyes behind your back. You're not watching your interactions. You don't see when you turn around what people say or think about you. And why wouldn't you trust people? If you trust that they have good intentions about you, why didn't you trust that? And I think when that happens, Varsha, is a lot of times we see a side of ourselves that's not necessarily open or in front of us all the time. So it has been really helpful in the process.
Oh, awesome. So, Naz, my next question is sort of twofold, and hopefully you can respond to both parts of the question. One is, I think I remember you telling me that one of the teachers played a very important role in who you are today, and you really attribute a lot of your success in the younger years anyway to her. So please talk to us about that. And then also tell us, who is your role model now?
So when I came to the United States, as you mentioned, I was 15, and English was a language I knew, but the way you learn, with all due respect, languages in high school, that you don't really know till you talk it all the time.
Yeah, fluently.
Yeah, exactly. And so I had English as second language teacher. We call them ESL teachers. And my parents were outside of the country. They couldn't get out. They were in hiding for all kind of different reasons in Iran. And I was living with my uncle and my aunt, who are awesome people, but they never had children. And all of a sudden they had these two teenagers, my brother and I sort of deposited on them. And she decided to sort of be that mother figure in addition to the teacher to me. And she continued to encourage me. When I was applying for colleges, there was money issues. And then my uncle was of the belief that you can actually go to a community school or get a talent, become a secretary or learn something, and then perhaps get married, and then, a different direction your life would take you on. And she was the one who said, absolutely not. I see so much potential in your future. She got with me, took me to her daughter's school, upstate New York, Hobart and William Smith, where I went to college. Her daughter was in school at that place. Says, I just want you to experience that. I stayed overnight with her daughter, fell in love with the school. And she said to me, yeah, you might have to work on part-time, you have to work in school, but you will have a great education. And frankly, that education has always, to this day, I'm on the board of that school because I have such amazing debt of gratitude for the strength the school gave back to me in those 4 years. So that is, and I do a scholarship in her name. My brother and I both do at the high school every year for a immigrant student, similar to what we are, that is in their way to a going to college for 4 years.
That is so generous.
I want to always honor what she did for us. In terms of, look, there are people that I can look at and say they're my role models. Sometimes you're my role model. I watch what you do at Wings and the way you throw yourselves heart and soul into developing women for future success. I look at my father at times and how he had our back and how he lost everything and all the grandness in his life and never acted like any of that really stopped him. He came in, he used to run a company with, 2,000 people reporting to him. And I remember he came and he took a simple accounting job that he was reporting to probably one of the people who would have been 5 or 7 layers below him in his original company.
Mhm.
But there was never an ounce of shame, and there was so much detachment and pride in doing the best job he could possibly do and provide for our family, send my brother and I to finish our schooling. And I always felt like he had my back, and he, and also said to me, "No's can make you stronger." He always said that to me. So that is, somebody I have really looked up to in my career too. And then I will tell you, John Lewis is one of my famous.
Yes.
I just, look, I love that statement, make good trouble. And I think if you ask all of my bosses, I'm known to make trouble. I hope it's good. But that is, I'm not easily accepting of status quo. I think it can be annoying at times, but my heart is always in making things better. And if somebody gets to know me, realize the intention is good. Right. So
Yeah.
I've always loved his sentiment about making your world better.
Oh my God. First of all, I am honored that I made it on that list with John Lewis and your
Absolutely.
dad.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Very-
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And also, God bless all the teachers, Naz. I mean, look, some good teachers are like God sent, and I feel like they shape up our next generation.
Absolutely.
There's a huge respect for all the teachers. And I also remember, which I actually always think about that, what you said, that your dad told you that his job is to give you what's between your two
my God, yes.
ears.
That was his famous line. When he had lost all his wealth and everything, and people will say to him, "Oh, you're not, it must be sad. You're not leaving like monetary benefits for your family." And he said, "Oh, my kids, all they need, I've given them. It's between their 2 ears.
Yeah.
That's all they need. And the rest of it is up to them. I'm responsible for that." And I really feel that is, as a parent, as an educator, as a teacher, that's the jobs we have, as mentors, the jobs we have.
And look at that. He did such an amazing job with that. We have an example right here. So Naz, thank you so much for being so brave and candid on this podcast. And I really salute you for coming on and being so transparent. So let's have a little bit of fun. I'm thinking we should do a quick rapid fire to wrap this up. Are you ready for that, Naz?
Sure, let's go.
Okay. All right. So here you go. One thing that you changed in yourself after you joined the executive suite.
Listen more.
Oh my God, that's so important, isn't it? And hardest skill to learn. Gut versus data.
Oh, gut, by far.
Oh my God. And I'm so proud that you said that, because sometimes we get so wrapped up with data and then we forget, your intuitions and your experience.
But yeah. Experience allows you to believe in your gut too. So
correct. The next one is, I think it's kind of tricky, two parts: command and control versus trust and inspire.
I think it's trust and inspire. I think good leaders trust and inspire you. And I've always seen that in people I've looked up to. Command and control is good in tactical situations, but not long-term building of situations.
Yeah. And when you're a leader of such a large organization, it's not a military style where command and control, right? You have to inspire people. The career you will never want to have.
It's funny, the career I never want to have. I certainly don't want to be a credit analyst. And I definitely don't want to be a politician. Those are the two I definitely don't want to have. So
I share one of them with you, politician. One thing you always do to manage crisis.
I sit and reflect on it even if it takes a minute or 2 minutes before, because when you're in crisis, you tend to, your heart pressure goes up, you tend to want to just respond. I tend to ask one or two people questions immediately. I get my gut, but I check my gut with one or two people, and then I lead. I don't change. Once I make my decision, I just lead down the path.
That is so important, because that's how other people will follow, which is very important during the crisis. They are looking for a leader to lead them. So thank you. And then here are two sentences that I'm going to ask you to complete. I am not afraid to fail because
failure makes you stronger. Absolutely makes you better at being whatever it is that you're doing, sharper.
That's how you learn, right? The best leader is always the best what?
Empathetic leader who is willing to roll up their own hands and get involved when needed to move things forward.
That's awesome. And I'm going to take again one more liberty that I'm going to complete that sentence for you, because I have known you. The best leader is also the best mentor that you have been.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that, but I also do believe that best leaders by nature want to be mentors to other people.
Absolutely. Well, that concludes our conversation. I actually don't even want to end this conversation, but I know you're a busy woman. There are a lot of people waiting for you. So I'm going to let you go. Thank you again so much for being here on this podcast. And I hope your rest of your Friday afternoon is uneventful.
Thank you. I hope so too. I appreciate it, Varsha. Take care. Bye.
Thank you for listening. They say actions are stronger than words. We need your support to grow many more leaders around the world and leave a legacy for the next generation that we can be proud of. Please do something amazing today and sign up.